This morning, my time, the Artemis 2 crew splashed down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego. 4 astronauts completed a 10-day mission around the moon, which was the first time that humans had been back to the moon since 1972, a year before I was born. As a child of the 1970s, I was always in awe of American technology and ambition. Here it was, the crowning achievement of humanity, escaping our world and landing on the moon. I'd always thought that for thousands of years, people must have looked up and wondered whether we could ever really get there. And finally, it had been done. And then a few years later, when computers came along, I thought, wow, what a great time to be alive. Back then, everyone expected that it wouldn't be long before we had people up there permanently with the regular shuttle service backwards and forwards. The space race was real engineering with real risk. And to me, that was what American ingenuity was all about. And it's great to see that ambition is back again. But then this week we saw something completely different, the bullshit hype of Anthropic Mythos. It's more than ironic because in the same week that NASA launched humans to go back to the moon, Anthropic launched a press release and got just as much coverage, and that is seriously messed up. Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, announced a new model called Claude Mythos Preview, and the press coverage has been breathless. It's too powerful to release. It could bring down a Fortune 100 company, and it even escaped its own sandbox. Seriously, and people believe this stuff? Give me a break. Let me tell you what actually happened. Anthropic built a bigger model, reportedly 10 trillion parameters, and it scores well on benchmarks, 97.6% on the USA Mathematical Olympiad, which is genuinely impressive. But it's 5 times more expensive for a moderately small improvement in quality. That's not a breakthrough, that's a breakdown, and it's a terrible result. 97% accuracy still means 3% wrong. And in business, the world where I come from, 3% wrong is catastrophic. If your ERP was 3% wrong, you'd be firing people. If your financial statements were 3% wrong, you'd have regulators at your door. 3% wrong is not a rounding error, it's a career-ending error. And we shouldn't be celebrating models which have not yet achieved the level that we actually need to solve the problems in business. And here's where I really have to call bullshit. Anthropic says they're not releasing Mythos to the public because it's too dangerous and too powerful. And they also said in their own document, that is, it's very expensive to serve, up to $125 per million output tokens. That's 5 times more expensive than their current top model. So is it really too dangerous, or is it just too expensive to be economical? This is classic AI hype theatre, and we shouldn't be believing a word of it. And this brings me to the deeper issue that the AI industry will not yet concede. Getting 97% of the way to the moon means you still didn't get to the moon. The entire industry is locked into a paradigm that says make it bigger and more powerful, train it on more data, use more compute. And then when the model is wrong 3% of the time or 7% or whatever, they keep saying, well, it's still the most powerful model ever built. The industry's answer is to make the prediction engine bigger, to spend more money, to use more GPUs, to build more data centers, and then charge $125 per million tokens and call it progress. And now there's this whole fear-based bullshit narrative being built up to keep this bubble going as long as possible. And unfortunately, people are still falling for it. The reason I'm so adamant about this is because for years I've been pursuing a fundamentally different approach. I realized this problem years ago, so instead of making the models bigger and bigger, I'm trying to make them smaller and smarter. Up until now, I haven't talked about Kiraa much on this channel because I've been building up the narrative to explain why the current approaches are wrong. But my approach with Kiraa is not to make a model with 97% accuracy that costs $125 per million tokens. I'm trying to build a model with 100% accuracy that costs 1 cent per million tokens. And I'm not saying we're there yet, but that's the ambition. To do that, I've been building Kiraa using a fundamentally different approach called cache augmented generation, which works on our patent-pending analytical data frame technology. The idea is very simple, but it's contrarian. Instead of going bigger, go smaller. Instead of predicting answers, retrieve them. Instead of hoping the model gets it right 97% of the time, design an architecture where the data is the data. It's not a prediction of the data. It's not a hallucination of the data. It's the actual data. Because when a CFO asks you, what are our margins in Q3, you can't give him a probabilistic prediction. You need a number and you need a reference to prove it. And the job of the system is to get that number, not to guess what it might be. So this week gave us two really important stories. One is genuinely inspiring. Humans went to the moon and came home safely, and that's a massive achievement. The other is an AI company telling us their model is too powerful to release while admitting it's too expensive to run, and it's still not accurate for the work that actually matters. One of these is a true scientific breakthrough, and the other is just marketing hype. And it's incredibly sad that we live in a time where people can't tell one from the other. Congratulations to the NASA Artemis crew, and of course, all my American friends and supporters. You live in an exceptional country with great ambitions, and seriously well done. But please, let's stop the AI hype and start celebrating achievements when they've actually been delivered, not when the press release has been published. If you enjoyed my content, please like and subscribe my videos, and I'll see you in the next one.